factors making possible a radio so small that while it can't quite be strapped to the wrist, it can be slipped easily into an ordinary suit coat pocket.
This is Scott. And this is Jim. You read us? Over. I read you loud and clear. Over. Return to base station. Repeat. Return to base station.
A hand of Breathless stretching out. She's got hold of that iron pot and crack! Fine type of Dick Tracy.
Midway through ds106, we move into the group project phase. That's right. Now you apply your audio skills to making a radio show. You will want to make sure that you're telling a story that draws us in just with sound.
If housewives would only compare SK Franks to ordinary Franks, they would taste the difference quality makes.
What are they doing? Well, let's have a look. It's a toy hockey game, complete with movable players that pass, check, shoot, and score.
In fact, if you investigated thoroughly enough, you'd probably find that half the industrial working force in the nation contributed in one way or another to the making of these little radios.
Got my swim cap and comb and my paperback book, but I'm almost through.
You will use music, sound effects layering. Make a soundscape that feels real.
It's a hit. Take it to the ball game. Take it to the beach. Wherever you go, in your home or outdoors, it's so easy to take a new Motorola portable radio with you for hours of listening pleasure.
Scott, this is Kevin. My bike is broken. Can you help me? Over. Yes, but send me a signal so I can find you. This is radio station REMCO, Remco, the do-it-yourself radio station. Oh, boy, we're radio engineers.
Go wild with your storytelling. Make it big. Later on, it's time again for the ds106 show, coming to you live from headquarters here in Strawberry, Arizona, where it's radio time and we're getting down with our radio gear because radio is actually going to be bigger than the internet in the future. I know because here in 1964 I can see the future. It's all laid out clear. And radio and the internet are going to intertwine in interesting ways. So welcome to our present and viewing audience. Let's have a round of intros from everybody here. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, everybody. Hey. Brian Short, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
And how's your ds106-ish class going?
Good, good. We've been doing radio for about a week. Just the first assignments starting to trickle in, but it's good. Listening to a lot of NPR kind of stuff. This American Life, Radio Lab, reading Sarah Vowell. So yeah, it's good. It's good.
What kind of framework are you doing for their radio projects?
We're gonna do. They get to do one piece for a radio show on a theme that we're all doing together, and then they do one other piece, just whatever they want to do. So it's just two pieces of kind of highly produced audio by the end of the section.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Might we get them on the ds106 radio and Grant gets the URL going?
Yeah. We should hook that up for sure.
All right, and next we have current student Jennifer. How's it going, Jennifer?
Good. How are you guys?
We are groovy because it's the 60s.
Yeah, I'm at UMW, and my name is Jennifer.
Excellent. And then next, a returnee, a boomerang student, Daniel Zimmerman. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. It's good to be here.
Glad you
I'm
could
excited
join
about
us.
audio. I love audio. It's my favorite.
Yeah. You did some awesome stuff in audio. So
Thank you.
I hope you can chime in a little bit and give some advice to the listening audience.
I certainly hope I can too.
All right. And hey, Nancy, our most frequent participant.
Yeah. The joys of not having class till 7 on Tuesdays.
You're regular. So how's this week shaping up for you? Are you one dreading audio or?
I'm just stressed with life right now because I have a senior project to work on and I have just a ton of stuff I'm working on right now. So as I'm in here, I'm like editing an article I have to send into the school paper and doing like 10 other things.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go into a Google Plus hang out.
All right, and then we have Todd. What should I call you, Todd?
You call me Todd. Everything else is like unknown.
Okay.
I mean, right? Isn't that true?
Yes, it's very true.
I did notice recently in the class that there was some audio activity from Hatchet Jack, which is hard to believe, but the whole Talkie Tina thing seems to be happening. And so there was some audio apparently done by those people.
So just for those who aren't familiar, believe me, there are people who don't know the whole story. Hatchet Jack is a frozen mountain man in the ice, and he's fallen in love with a talking doll from the Twilight Zone, right?
Yes.
Only on ds106 does that happen. And to a true like tinkerer nerd, Zach, how you been, buddy?
Hey, I've been well. How are you?
Good to see you.
You look good. You look sexy.
I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it because you know what? I'm coming to you from 1964, where it's all happening.
Got it.
It's the retro thing. So glad you could join us and talk a little bit about radio. So this is the stretch of the class where kind of the pace starts to change because up to now, I can't see what this is saying. Up to now, students have been on this pace of doing like stuff every week. This week is actually kind of a 2-week segment, even stretched longer, because spring break is in the middle. So Nancy and Jennifer know this, but your stuff isn't actually due to like March 17th, which means like you should not wait until March 15th to start. But you guys know it. You are not the slackers. But I mean, what do you guys think about that change in pace?
Oh, I think it's fine. I think we have more time because it's way more involved. So, yeah.
I think it's interesting, especially I like that we have extra time since I know my internet at my parents' house doesn't let me use like Skype or Google Hangouts at all.
Wow.
So I really want to have that book. So I won't have to do too much online stuff.
They have like restrictive internet at home. It's usually the opposite.
Are your parents in North Korea?
No, my parents are in Southern Maryland, but we have Comcast, and it tends to kick me off every couple hours, and I have to reset the modem.
That would be extremely aggravating.
It's annoying, and they blame the MacBook on it, which it's not my fault.
Yeah. So the big thing that's going on, and the reason why it's 2 weeks, is that the students are they're producing their radio shows, and they're kind of in the forming and group dysfunction stage right now, trying to figure out what they're going to do. I'm really hoping, and this is a good time if you want to or not, but if you want to bounce your ideas off of me, that's what I want to do, because sometimes people do the radio shows and they end up kind of being like just bits of audio strung along, and I'm going to keep coming back because I really want you to focus on making it into a story or make it something that grabs your interest, like the ones that we listen to. And I thought, Daniel, since you guys, I mean, your radio group last year or last semester probably was it was most highly functioning, but the show that you guys produced was just awesome.
Oh, thank you.
What was the magic ointment in the recipe?
Well, I've said this before on the show, but really what we did was we tried to find people that complemented each other. So it wasn't just everybody had the same strength in one area. We all had different strengths in different areas, and we kind of used that to mesh everything together to come up with a show. And we started super early. I think we actually started before you even assigned it, getting the group together and kind of brainstorming what we wanted to do and how we were going to go about it. We had Google Docs and outlines and all this other stuff that we put into this, so we were just kind of winging it, to say the least. So there was a lot of effort that went on behind the scenes before anything even got started.
And what was your show about? Can you give a synopsis?
Sure. Well, what we did was we did a zombie radio show, which is kind of cliche because we have a lot of people that tend to do zombies. But we took a different spin on it. We took this group of survivors and we put them in an old radio station. And they didn't know how to work the radio. They didn't know that it was always on. The mic was hot, so it was broadcasting out what was going on within the group to all of the listeners, had there been any. And it was kind of a dynamic in that they didn't know the radio was on, so you just saw what happened without the gimmicky, oh, we're on the radio kind of thing. And then as the show progressed, they started to figure out certain things were going on because they'd get phone calls from people who were listening. And it just kind of examines the group dynamic as opposed to, I don't know, just the group dynamic was the main focus of the show.
And I'm actually quite surprised that zombies, this is the first time I've taught the class where zombies did not come up, and also I'm glad this is also, it's actually been 2 semesters, hasn't come up with the idea for a show of, hey, let's get drunk and have people call in and talk to us. So maybe we're evolving. I'm going to play just a little bit. I have your thing lined up here.
This is ds106 Radio. ds106 Radio. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Radio WRTZ on ds106 Radio. Today, we have a show for you that it's, well, let's say it's a little bit different than your typical radio show. So sit down, strap in, and here we go.
Unburied human corpses are returning to life and feeding on the living. Do not try to eat them. They seem to survive by eating human flesh.
Everyone's died in someone is case where people just become one of them that much.
That was Zombies Ate My Neighbors by Schoolboy, wrapping up our half-hour commercial-free set at 2 o'clock on this lovely afternoon. As usual, we'll have our call-in.
All right, so I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's there for you guys to listen to, but obviously they had some pretty rich soundtrack. We had some effects going there. As it plays out in the next 20 minutes, there's a huge amount of dialogue, which worked really well here. So there's some good elements to learn from listening to that show. And a lot of it from the production level, which in my mind definitely stems from what Daniel described as how well that group kind of got coordinated and kind of picked the roles. So not everybody did audio editing, right, Daniel?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, most of the audio editing was done by myself. We all got in a Google Hangout, and I had screen share up so they could see what I was doing in Audacity. We all had our headphones on so we could hear what was going on. They could hear the playback. But most of it was done by actually me clicking and doing all the cutting and pasting and all that kind of thing. But everybody else had their roles, and everybody did exactly what they needed to do, and it worked out perfectly.
Hey, and good to see you, Ben. You made it home in the snowstorm.
Yeah, just barely.
That's cool. So maybe Ben, Brian, or Zach, or Todd, like from your experience in listening or doing these radio shows, I mean, what's really good advice to get people focused on really producing the good story element and not just making it a series of recordings?
I'd say one of the things to think about right as you get going is using ambient, so using sounds from the environment, just like observing your environment well, listening really closely and being able to set a scene up so that, you know, you have a sound go and then the person is in the scene, right? So the bell chimes over the door and then you're in a store or whatever it is, right? But to use these things as cues to put people in a scene wherever they are, that's one thing.
Excellent. I love that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And that's why we had people listen to some radio shows.
Mhm.
When we get to video, I have an assignment where I have them listen to a scene from a movie with like the visuals off, so they just listen to the sound.
Oh yeah, that's a cool idea.
And if you just have dialogue and there's like this empty space in between, it just feels hollow. So if you have a scene that's taking place in a coffee shop, you need the sound of people talking in the background. You need clinking cups. You can have rustling and napkins, and those are all things which give the sound of effect. And that's why I have a Foley assignment for this week where people have to pick a 30-second segment from a Charlie Chaplin silent film and generate the Foley sounds for that 30 seconds. Anybody have any suggestions? What makes a good audio drama story?
I vote that emotional connection, some kind of, whether it's haste or worry or fear or, the characters, something's got to be exciting. Think of any kind of storyline. There's got to be some conflict, something, and whatever the story is needs to have that.
Right, definitely the arc. We talked about the Vonnegut shape or the Freytag triangle, the stuff that's used in film. Like, you put your characters in a setting. You get the characters there, and then you have to create some conflict that has to be dealt with. I mean, that's the typical thing that's done. The stuff that This American Life, does is kind of a different thing, but they do set it up in a way that it doesn't give away the whole story in the beginning. And that's another thing my students may want to think about is like, what kind of suspense can you build in, or don't make where you're going in your show necessarily so predictable. So if you're doing I always wanted the zombie thing where like everybody just kind of like the zombies just decide to build playgrounds and do the unexpected as well. Think about how you can change our perceptions about what happens in a story.
The old zombie playground trick.
Yeah. It's as old as about 3 seconds ago.
I think another key fact to the audio portion of this is that you have to play to people's creativity. You don't have the visuals to give people cues, so you have to really kind of leave some of the details out, just enough that people can use their own creativity to invest themselves in the story.
And what was was it a big thing when you guys, when we first played it live on the radio? I mean, the first time like people heard it?
Oh, absolutely. When we first started, we tried to keep as little of the story from being out there as possible, so that
I didn't really know it.
Right. So we were trying to leave a little bit of a mystery, so that as the show went on, people could figure it out for themselves and maybe interpret it differently than we would have them interpret it. That actually can make a really great story. Is if somebody else can take what you had and completely flip it around in their head, but still enjoy it.
I think there's a lot of fun that you can have building stories, but also deconstructing and remixing too. Michael Branson Smith, myself, and one of the actual UMW Mary Washington students about this time last year, we worked on something, and we actually took. There's so much ds106 material and canon out there. We actually took a whole bunch of interviews and videos that Jim Groom had done, and we deconstructed all that and pulled all of it out, and we interviewed fake Jim Groom and made it sound like he was a crazy raving madman. Well,
he is
more of a crazy raving madman than what he actually is. We had a lot of fun with that, and we weren't necessarily going for. I guess the emotional hook we were going for was a sort of comedic effect, but that was a lot of fun too. Taking material that was already out there and just picking it into pieces, and then just sort of remixing it with our own.
That's a good idea, because I know sometimes it seems like people think that they just have to do like one scene or one person at a time. I mean, you heard some of the techniques. The Radio Lab sort of approach is a lot of complex editing, but the way in which they overlap sounds and things is kind of interesting. That kind of back and forth, and then where the announcer is talking over some things in the background and shifting back and forth. But whatever the technique is that you're talking about, I think one of our groups is doing that. There's a celebrity interview assignment where they're going to take interviews with a celebrity, but interject their own audio and wrap that existing conversation into the script that they're writing. So that's another interesting way to go.
Notwithstanding ambience and all that other stuff, what I would recommend is pay attention to rhythm and pacing, because probably when you're all done, it's about twice as long as it should be. And so really go back and clap it through, clap it while it's happening and see what the rhythm is, what the pace is, because especially with radio, it's hard, you have to keep it popping.
That's really good.
And it can't drag on, especially if you're not doing something to set mood with ambience or with music. It's got to pop and keep popping. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's great, because 20 to 25 minutes is actually a lot of time to fill. And as you're doing your editing, especially as you're getting more used to looking at what sound looks like, I mean, it may sound trivial, but just chopping out those blank spots and getting things tighter, pulling out things which really aren't critical. Excellent point, Zach, and he disappeared. He's probably coming back. That's good stuff. Brian, I mean, you do a lot of radio production. I mean, and you're doing it with your students, and you already talked about the ambient. What about in terms of story development for radio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, a lot of it depends on what you're doing. Like a radio play would look a lot different structurally than something that was more like a NPR News feature kind of thing. For a radio play, it's probably the Freitag's Triangle, with the dramatic rising action and climax and all of that. But for something else, I think it's got to. I think Zach's point about rhythm, I think, is good. You want to use a mix of, I think, scenes and narration and quotes from people, and to use that diversity to kind of keep the listener's attention, right? That's what you're terrified of, is losing the listener's attention. It's what I'm terrified of, anyway.
And what I mean, because This American Life is not really a Freitag triangle. I mean, what's the thing that works well in the stories that they write?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of them actually do have kind of a more traditional kind of. If you break them down, I think there's a conflict and it escalates, and then there's some kind of turn, right? So that's pretty similar. But I think there's also these little moments when things get revealed, and when things get revealed, that's usually when they break to music, right? They give you a second to kind of think about what you just heard. So, and the music also acts to kind of give a different texture instead of just listening to someone tell you a 20-minute story or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's good, and I try to recommend, if you listen closely, they use music as a bridge. It's usually sometimes it's only 10 seconds to connect segments. Then it kind of slides down to nothing, so the scene and the ambient can take over. Some people do things with kind of a whole music bed underneath, and if you do that, you got to make sure your volumes aren't conflicting too much.
Yeah.
For those who are getting into production.
And you can also just have, even if it's just a short spoken piece, you can also just have music come in really soft underneath as a crescendo, whenever you get to the really exciting part, to kind of make it more dramatic or whatever. That's for an audio essay if you're doing something like that.
And if you want to, you can be all corny like NPR, and at the end of a piece, you can have some sort of song that just has lyrics that maybe vaguely mention what you're talking about. Maybe you're going to do a piece about education, so let's throw some Van Halen, Hot for Teacher, because that goes well together.
Right, and all the school kids love that. They love to hear that.
That's right. That'd be a good supercut, the worst musical transitions from NPR. That'd be.
Yep.
You got it.
All right, someone's going to do that one. So for Nancy and Jennifer, you guys got any like questions? Well, wait, we have these esteemed and well-groomed and hat-wearing experts.
I mean, we've been, like, our group's kind of been having a lot of issues getting along because we don't know what we want to do. I don't want to talk about real life because it makes me look crazy. I'm a journalist and I write entertainment stuff. I don't talk about myself. It makes me insane. And so now we just don't have a topic. And we're trying to come up with one, and we just don't know what to do.
That's hard, and the whole group thing is kind of, in many ways, it's kind of an artificial construct for doing work, but it is important that people kind of be able to figure out a common thing to work on. So, and I don't, I've been trying to follow what you guys have been doing, so. It doesn't have to be like if the theme of the show is people talking about themselves. I mean, there's ways of using metaphor, creating a character, tell someone else's story. I don't think it has to be necessarily your story. I'm not going to like insist that everybody put their foibles out there as part of the show. And mostly, I like when people make stuff up. I mean,
yeah,
to me,
I really want
to
to do like fantasy stuff. Like that's. I had suggested at one point we do, like, we each pick, like, a book character and talk about their journey. Like, I could do Hunger Games because I'm kind of obsessed with that. But then people are like, oh, that's copyright infringement. We can't do that. But I think that would honestly be really awesome.
Yeah, well...
Do that. Copyrights for suckers.
I was going to say, if there's one
RPer.
thing that ds106 is not about, it's about following copyright to the letter of the law.
We've never gotten punished. I'm not in jail. Look at me. But no. Also, I mean, doing a satire of Hunger Games is not a copyright infringement. I mean,
yeah, that's what I said.
It falls under fair use and fan fiction. But again, the group thing is hard because you got people with different interests, and
yeah,
it should get sorted out. And just like you guys had a lot of ideas on the table, it's just a matter of voting, and some people may just have to sort of figure out the give and take about what they're willing to do and not willing to do.
Yeah, some people wanted to do like more fiction, and other people wanted to, or like, I don't write fiction ever, period, in a story. So it's really hard with that. Like, I don't want to write real life. That's what I'm doing for my senior project, and I just need a break from that.
There's always a variety show. You could do a variety show where everybody kind of does their own thing. Maybe this person has a 10-minute segment, this person has a 10-minute segment. Then the problem is going to be how do you make it flow from one segment to the next, but that is significantly easier than apparently trying to pick a topic.
So what would you suggest for our segments? Like,
well, you said you wanted to do something on the Hunger Games, so maybe you could do a character analysis or do a fan fiction if you've written one of those.
I don't write that anymore. Jen, Jen should talk.
I really don't have anything to say about it right now. Honestly, unless you really want to hear what I have to say.
Uh-oh.
And well, we're in the same group.
Drama.
So, yeah. I am very open to whatever needs to happen. The issue that we're running into is we had a more than an hour Google Hangout last night. We discussed everything, put it all on the table, voted from left to right on every subject that came up. We agreed on stuff. We sent Ellen our agreement. And then one of the group members decided she didn't want to participate. And based on
it's turned into like half of our group no longer wants
that I gave, decided that if that's what I was going to talk about, she wasn't going to be part of the group. So, it's like, all right, well, yeah, I don't know. So
okay, well,
I'm going to end there.
Well, you're recording all of this, right? Because, I mean, this is great fodder to just go ahead and cut down into a great show about
That's actually what I was thinking. One of the girls suggested we should
dysfunction.
We should do a radio drama, and I'm like, isn't that fitting?
I mean, I think though Daniel does have a good advice here, because if the group really has some different interests, slicing it into some sort of variety show where you can provide some overarching theme or connection shouldn't be that much of a difficult thing to do, and that gives people some flexibility to pursue the stories that they want to do.
And the best part is, if you guys can agree on a lot of things, then you can do your work individually. You can record your stories on your own. You don't have to be constantly.
Well, most of us can agree that we really want to do something. We want to do it together. Just not all of us.
Okay, well, I will be working with you guys, so.
Thank you.
And everybody will be part of doing something creative.
Yeah. And I'm muting myself now because I think I've said enough.
All right.
There's more if you want it.
We need like the bomb the organ music to come, which I don't have on cue here. That would be very good. So it's hard, and I've seen all kinds of variations in how groups are able to come to this, and as my friend Gardner Campbell writes in terms of his rules for class, it's passion encouraged, civility required. So I would echo that for this group work, and we'll get good stuff done. We're going to be broadcasting this live on ds106 Radio on Monday, March 18th. For the students, you guys have, this week is still kind of a lot of the forming stage, but by the end of the week, definitely before spring break, it'd be good if everybody has a clear idea about where it's going, if not already moving into some sort of writing and media acquisition. And then you have the week after spring break to be actually doing the production of it. So there is no command that this gets done over spring break. We had that in the past, and that was not a very popular thing. So that's why there's actually a good amount of time to get everything organized here and produced by the end of the week, second week of March. Anything? I've been blabbing the most. I got to shut up. This collar, man, it's bothering me.
You thought the suit was bad.
Yeah, I know. I know. This is the first time. This is the longest in my life I've ever worn the top button closed. Even when I had a tie, I would sneak the top button open.
What are you going to do next week when you're in Japan?
What do you mean? What are you going to do? You're going to do the same thing you do this week.
Yeah, good point.
I have internet there. I'll be in communication. I'll just be about 11 hours ahead of you.
We just won't be able to understand you because it'll all be in Japanese, right?
There'll be subtitles.
Definitely. Where the lips and the soundtrack don't go together. No, because pretty much. This week you're working on stuff. Next week is actually spring break, but I am going to be paying attention to email. I'm doing online work when I'm there, so it just might take a little bit longer to respond to a tweet or something like that. But I will be here as much as I am here at your class when I'm in Arizona. It's just a little bit more geography.
I just would like to say that those were amazing words. It just might take me a little longer to get to respond to a tweet. We're talking a third of a second longer. Is that how the internet? Is that what you mean, Alan?
Well, when you cross the international date line, as our friend Nigel in New Zealand knows, it gets kind of wacky, because you're in the future. I'm in the past right now, and I'm going into your future. So time travel that gives me a migraine.
So shouldn't we get your tweets faster?
I will step
We'll
on the
get them in
accelerator.
advance. They'll be commenting on stuff you haven't even done yet.
Pre-answering us.
Which has not been happening as I'm already behind on.
That's a story right there. You're going to get the tweets in the future. That's great.
That would be kind of an interesting storyline to play out. There's a group doing time travel. We have a group doing a celebrity thing. We have a group who actually on their own came up with the Twilight Zone motif, which is very interesting because the Twilight Zone is actually going to be the framework for the summer DS106 course that I'm going to co-teach with Jim. So
we're going to have more creepy dolls talking to us on Twitter?
They will be your teachers, yes. They will.
Great. Great. Yeah, I know you're watching Talkie Tina, all right? And I'm sorry. I'm not being mean. You're creepy.
Ben,
She keeps tweeting us.
Ben, if you do not comment on people's blogs, Talkie Tina will push you down your stairs.
Yes.
Just letting it be known.
Okay, will do. You could.
Can we just talk about Talkie Tina just for 1 second?
No,
Yes.
no, please.
Look at Zach. He's got his creepy doll on.
Creepy Pee Wee Herman
That's
doll.
not,
Which is just,
that ain't Tina. I seen Tina, and that ain't her.
no, that is not her.
Tina scares me. Dolls in general scare me.
Everyone's doing. Did you see Andrew Forgrave do that creepy animated GIF doll of?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It could be the whole doll meme.
There we go.
Here we go. Is Talkie Tina coming into the hangout?
I hope not.
Don't say anything, Todd.
Oh my gosh. It's tweeting. It's tweeting.
It's tweeting.
Anyways. Sorry to totally disrupt your flow there.
Yeah,
Zach?
Ben, you're not following my script, Ben.
Zach?
Oh, hold on.
Hatchet Jack keeps tweeting too.
We got... Zach. Okay, I'm leaving. I can't take it.
What?
I'm leaving.
The doll.
The doll. Put that doll up close, Zach. Let's see him.
That's so creepy.
Let me get him on screen there. Lock him in. He's locked in, man.
That's just wrong.
Is that Pee Wee Herman?
Never going to talk to Zach Dowell again.
Why do you have a Pee Wee Herman doll? Pray ask, pray tell. Todd Conway muted Zach. All right. All social order has ended here. I am going to.
You're making Todd cry. Come on. He's so sad.
I love it when this goes out of control. It's
I'm
so
not
much
making
more-
Todd cry. Doll's gone.
Now he's crying because he misses the doll.
Yeah.
I know, Todd. All right, ds106. We got 2.5 weeks to come up with some awesome radio-ness. There's audio assignments in between. I hope some people, the open participants, try. This is a new experiment with the Foley assignment. So basically, the 30-second segment from Charlie Chaplin acting out the scene in the circus where he's in the lion cage. The segment that you do is based upon the month that you were born in. And I think if this works out, John Johnston is helping me do some prototyping. We're going to set like a little mashup that will take random segments from SoundCloud and play them out with the YouTube video. So it was kind of a fun thing that happened in class last year, and we're seeing if we can play this out on the web. Any last remarks, retorts, tomatoes?
If anybody wants to listen to the rest of the show that Alan was playing previously, it is on SoundCloud.
What's the username?
What is my username? If you search
Talkie
for
Tina?
Actually, it's on. There's a whole archive of radio shows on the ds106 site. If you go under the About and go to Hall of Fame, there's a side link to the radio show archive, which I could probably just like put in the chat if I was.
I think it's if you search for WRTZ Radtastic Radio, you can find it. Any combination of those words will probably pull it up on SoundCloud.
Here comes the URL, ds106.us/radio-shows. That is where it's at. That's an archive of about the last 2 years worth of student-created radio shows. And we'll be excited to see 5 more be put on the mix. If any of you doll lovers and other freaks out there want to do your own show, it's yours. And with that, I'm going back in the laboratory because I got some things to solder.
There it is. Todd found it.
All right. Thank you, Todd. DS106, you've been on the show. Thanks, friends and students, and also Daniel for coming in from the past semester, bringing his radio wisdom. And let's see what happens this week. You sick dolls, you sick dolls. Ending the broadcast now. Bye.
Bye.